how to use the AWS S3 CLI. For this tutorial, you're going to need the AWS CLI installed and set up with an IAM user or profile so that you have ready to go with the S3 permissions. And just before we dive in, there are two types of S3 APIs. You got the standard S3, which is a higher level command, and you got the lower level commands with S3 API. High level S3 gives you access to simpler commands with moving items, copying items, creating buckets, deleting files and deleting buckets, etc., and syncing files on a very basic level. For most of us, that's exactly what we need. If you need a lower level detail, you can use the S3 API, which is again a lower level API, which gives you much more granular control. So if you want to edit the lifecycle policies or edit permissions with buckets or edit settings with the buckets, you would use the S3 API. This video, we're focusing on the high level S3 API, which should be good for 80% of your needs. So the first thing, let's just check what we have. At the moment, I do not have any buckets here. So the first thing we need to do is create a bucket. The way we do that is we run AWS S3 MB, and then you need to use this syntax, S3 : or forward slash, that's the S3 URI, and then the name of the bucket. And it needs to be a unique bucket name. I have one here, my unique YT bucket. I'm gonna press enter. If this doesn't work, if it complains that you don't have a profile set up, it's because you have not selected a default region. So either you can set up a default region on your profile, or we can do this specifically by setting a region to our bucket. It has to be a unique bucket name, and we add -- region, and then we add the region we want. So I'll add it in EU West 1. My default region is EU North 1. And then let's go back to S3 and let's just update the page and see what we have. There we go. So we got my unique YT bucket in Europe, Stockholm, and we got my unique YT bucket region, Europe Island. When we copy files, we list our AWS S3 CP for copy, and then we list the source and the destination. So if we want to copy a file, we go to AWS S3 CP and the name of the file, the local path of it, and the path to the bucket. Press enter, and there we go, it's uploaded. We can verify that by checking, yes, this has been uploaded. If we want to download a file, we just switch. Source would be the bucket, so bucket name will come first. Destination will be our local path. So we go AWS S3 CP and we add the bucket name / the file name, which is in this context, copy me. And we add what we want it to be, the local path. So we'll just name it downloaded.txt. And there we go, it went downloaded, and we can see that we've got a downloaded.txt. If we cat it out, we can see what it says, I'm a file, copy me. Okay, perfect. You can do the same thing within buckets. So if I do AWS S3 CP bucket name / copy me.txt, I can then do the destination bucket / copied.txt. And if we do that, we can then go back to the bucket and we can check, oh, perfect, a copied version has been created. If we want to do, we copy it to another bucket as well. Let's run the same command as previous, but just change the destination to another S3 bucket, press enter, and it has been copied. Now we can verify that by going to the buckets, to the region, and we see that this file has now come in here. Say you need to copy something recursively. Well, I have here a bunch of recursive files. So in this case, I've got 20 files and I want to copy all of them. How can I do that? Well, very easily. I use the same command as I used before, S3 copy. The source is my local source. So I'm going to do /recursive. That's folder name. And I'm going to go with an S3 bucket name, and I'm going to do -- recursive. And you see it uploads all those files. If we go back here, it will have uploaded them all into this path. If you want to upload them into a specific folder, let me clear this. You would do /folder and it will upload it to a /folder. So here we have a /folder. So remember, just when uploading that to the S3, you need to specify it explicitly. When copying or uploading, we can also use the exclude and include filters to specify exactly what we want to exclude and not upload. So for example, I have here S3 CP/recursive _ exclude. We use the bucket name. We'll do this recursively, so everything in the bucket gets uploaded. And we're gonna use exclude, and we want to exclude everything that has exclude _ anything else in the sequence. We'll press that, and it uploaded one file. And just to show you what's actually in this drive folder, you see we got copy me2, exclude me.pdf, and exclude me.txt. And then when we ran this command, it only ran uploaded copy me2, which we can verify by going to our bucket, and it should be update. There it is, copy me2. If we want, we can exclude just an extension. So anything that is with PDF will be excluded, and now the copy me2 and exclude me.txt are uploaded. Copy me2 and exclude me.txt, and the PDF file is not uploaded. Say we don't want to include the PDF files, but there is one PDF file we want to include. We want to include exclude _ me. What we can do then is we run AWS S3, the same command. I'm going to do a / here so we can continue the command. And we're going to do -- include. And now we want to include the name. So exclude me.pdf should be included. If we press enter, that then uploads everything. And if we check, exclude me.pdf has also been uploaded. If you want to manage the settings of a file using ACL, you can do an AWS S3 copy, and we'll do copy me, and we'll add ACL public read write. Thing is, this is not going to work initially because it will fail, because the bucket does not allow ACLs. Now, in order to change this, you can go into permissions, and we want to change here, object ownership. The bucket owner enforces things. Okay, we want this to have ACLs enabled, and that the object writer is allowed to define the ACLs for items. Now, this is a dangerous setting. Don't do it if you don't know what you're doing. You might leak your credentials and leak data, but this is how you would do it. If we run the same command, and then also what we need to do is we need to allow public access. So we can do it broadly for everybody, or we can do it specifically for one of these. You confirm that as well. And once that is done, we should be able to run the commands, and the file will be uploaded with public read access. We can verify this by comparing the two files. We can check this file, copy me. We can open it in a new tab, and we can see I'm a file, copy me. If we try to read file for copy me2, which we did not grant public access to, it will say access denied. So this you can give to anybody. This will have access denied. And later I'll show you how to actually sign objects so you can give access without needing to have opening up these buckets like this. Another thing I want to show you. Right now, you can see that the storage class is standard by default. If we want to change the storage class, we can come in here and we can do AWS copy. I'm going to remove this, and we're going to enter storage class. And we're going to have to specify a storage class that is available for everybody. You can read that in the documentations, pros and cons for that. But you enter standard infrequently accessed, and that's the short for here. And if we go back here, we can see that now this copy me file has storage class infrequently accessed. And finally, if we want to stream a file, I have a file streamy.txt. What we can do is we can do streamy.txt. We can pipe this to simulate that we are streaming data. and we do AWS S3 copy, we do a dash S3, the bucket name. And then we need to include the path, the file name that we're gonna have, stream.txt. And if we go back here, we should have a stream.txt. If you don't want to copy files, if you just want to move files, then you can use the move command. So this will move it from the source to the destination, and it won't longer exist on the source file. So what that means, if I do AWS S3 move, and we do here copy me.txt, and we move it to the bucket, it's going to move it, and you can see it no longer exists there. And we can see that here, copy me is no longer standard IA, it's a new one with just standard, and this is the one. We can move it back to us. We can go to AWS S3 move. This time we want to do copy me.txt and move it back here. So we'll move it from the bucket, so that becomes the source, and our local machine becomes the destination. And we can see it's there in the bucket. Copy me is now longer showing. And we can do the same thing between the buckets. That would be AWS move. Now we don't have that. Let's do copy me to, and we do that to that bucket, but we do with region, because that's the bucket name. And we check here, copy me to should be gone. It's gone. If we go into our bucket for the region, we will see copy me to exists. And we can also, if we want to do move a file within a bucket, we can do find the file, copy.txt, and we can move it to the same bucket and do it into a new folder, copy.txt. And if we check here, copied should no longer exist, and it should have been moved to the move bucket, which it has. If you want to sync files between the S3 and your computer, or S3 and another S3 bucket, you can use the sync command. So the sync command recursively copies everything you want from the source to the destination. To keep in mind, sync will only create the folders if there is a file within the folder. But if we want to do it locally, we can do it. We have a sync folder, ls/sync, sorry, we have a few files. Now, what we want to do is, I'll clear here, we're gonna do AWS S3, and we're gonna sync here, and we're just gonna run that command. And now that will have synced into the main folder, because I didn't specify a folder. And we have a new sync file, and we have sync me to. We can do that locally, we can do that to another bucket, we can do it in many ways. If I create a new file, so if I create a new sync file 2, and we do ls/sync, we see we have a new sync file 2. We can run the sync command again, and this time it only uploads the new sync file 2 because the other files already exist there. So if we update here, we can see new sync file 2 has been uploaded. And that's a way to sync files and only upload the changed files. But say if we delete a file and run the sync command again, well, didn't say any delete. Did it delete it? Let's check. Do we have a delete me? Yes, but hey, we just deleted this file. Why didn't it get deleted? Well, what you need to do is you need to add this delete flag at the end of the sync command, and then it will sync even files that have been deleted. And now, caveat, it assumes that any file in this folder of sync that does not exist, so these recursive files, for example, does not exist in the file, so it assumes they have been deleted, so it will delete them from the S3 bucket as well. So the only files we have left are these ones. So keep that in mind. Now let's check how to list buckets. So now we've been using the console to show everything. Let's show how to list buckets with the CLI. You use the command AWS S3 ls, and that shows you our 2 buckets. We can then see what's in these buckets by specifying the bucket name or the bucket URI. And as you see, we have the same files that we saw in the bucket. If we do it on a bucket that does not exist or a folder that does not exist, it will just give us that information, or it will say none. So for example, if we do folder, which we had before, it will just give us no answer. Say if we have a folder, let's upload one so we can have it. AWS S3 CP /recursive, and then do that and put it all in folder. Check here, we got everything in folder. We can then, we'll clear the screen and then we'll check the folder, and we can see that we have a bunch of files in the folder. Let's clear again, and if we want to list everything in the bucket, we can do --recursive, and it will show the files and all the folders and structures and everything within the bucket. But here it writes the bytes, which can be hard to see, especially as the files become larger. So if we clear that, we can do the same command and we can do human readable. So give us in rounded to the biggest kilobyte, gigabyte, and so on. And we can do --summarize as well to give us a summary at the end. So here it gives us now in bytes. If the files would have been larger, it would have given us the files in their actual size in a human readable format. And the same gives us a summary of the total objects and the total size. And that's listing buckets. We know how to copy, we know how to move, and we know how to list the things. Let's figure out how to delete the things. Say we want to delete something, well, then we just use the rm command. Then we'll go s3 rm bucket name / the file name, which will be, in this case, syncme.txt, and we'll run syncme.txt. Say we want to destroy the folder that we uploaded, we'd go recursive, and it will delete all those files. If we then do an AWS S3 ls, let's do the human readable, we'll see we only have 3 files there when we had all those other files previously. If we want to delete the entire bucket or all the files within the bucket, we could do rm recursive without the folder name. That would delete all the files in the S3 bucket. And that allows us to do the last thing we want to do, delete the bucket. So we can delete the object. Let's learn how to delete the bucket itself. An easy way to do that is to do RB, short for remove bucket, and we do the bucket name. And that removes the bucket. Say we want to remove the other bucket we have, which has items in it, it will fail because the bucket is not empty. What we then can do is we can do --force, and that will delete the items. As long as they're not versioned, delete the items and then remove the bucket. So if we do AWS S3 ls, we have no buckets. We can verify that in here with the AWS CLI. If we refresh that, no buckets found because we don't have any buckets. And finally, let me show you how to manage access to your bucket objects. First, we're going to do with pre-sign. So we're going to give a signed URL that people can click on to get access to an object. So first we need to create another bucket. So we're going to go S3 MB. I'm going to create my unique bucket again, which I just deleted. Then we are going to upload something. We're going to do AWS S3 CP copy me. We can do that storage class. You don't need to do that. And we can go back here to the files. The bucket is created and we refresh that. That was an old cache. And if we go to this file, we can try to access it. And it's going to be access denied because we don't have the permissions to view it. We could also curl this object. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a signed URL that we can give to a person who can then access this object without having an AWS account. The way we do that, we go to AWS S3 and we use pre-sign, the bucket name, and then the object file. So in this time, copy me.txt, and it creates this URL. I'm going to copy this URL. To just show you, it still is access denied if I refresh that page. If I go here and use the URL that we created, it's going to create a URL that by default lasts for 1 hour. If you want to have a specific time, you can do --expires and the amount of seconds for it to expire. So I can create a new URL here. We'll do it for 10 seconds. So I'll be quick here. We go in here and we have access. Now, if we wait a little, we'll do refresh and the request has expired. So the time here, you can see it expired on 12/12/09 and now it's 12/12/11. And that is how you create pre-signed URLs that you can give somebody else. You can give them very short, or very long. The last thing I want to show you is how to set up an S3 bucket as your website. For this, I'm going to do a new bucket. So AWS S3 MB, my bucket. I'm going to just call it website. Can be named anything, just as long as you can make the bucket. Then I'm going to copy some files to bucket. I have some files here under website, an index.html and an error.html. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do AWS S3 copy. I'm just gonna grab this name and we're gonna do /website and we're gonna go to the bucket and we're gonna do it recursively because now we know we can do that. We can get those files up in one go easily. Let's check that bucket out. Refresh here. Website is here and the index and the .html are here. Now, this is not gonna work because we don't have access to it. As you see, I go to the file and it gives access. And besides, I have to go to the URL and /index.html. Instead, I just wanna be able to go to this domain and show the index.html site. Okay, so what we need to do is go a little outside now of the CLI because we're not using the S3 API, granular control, and we're gonna give this some access. First of all, we wanna remove local access, confirm that. So don't store any important information here. And we're gonna create a bucket policy. We're going to add a new statement and we can name this SID public read get access. The principal is going to be star, so anybody can do it. And the action we want is S3, not all actions. We just want the list object. No, we want get objects. Get object, just get the object, and the resource that we want to do this on is going to be this bucket arn /star, so it can access everything in here. We're going to save those changes, and then we are going to go back into our terminal, and in our terminal we're going to run AWS S3 website, type in the S3 -- my bucket name, which I don't have anymore. Type in the bucket name and we're gonna do index document. So the home document that people get to is gonna be index.html and the error document is going to be error.html. Once that is set, we can go back to this bucket. If we, as you saw, we couldn't see this before. If I refresh, we still can't see it. If we go under properties, we can go to static website hosting and see that it's enabled, and we can go to the URL. And if we go to that URL, we see, hello YouTube, like and subscribe for a cookie. And we try to go to something that does not exist, like 404, that will give us an error. If you need more granular approach to S3, then use the S3 API. I hope this helped.